Good afternoon. Today I'm presenting on Windows 7 XP and Mac OS X Lion. I'm just going to talk about the different features of each of these operating systems. First, we'll start off with the Windows XP. It was released in 2001. It was the successor to Windows 2000. The minimum system requirements are 233 megahertz CPU, 64 megabytes of RAM, 1.5 gigabytes of hard drive disk space, and in XP there was a new task-based GUI, or graphical user interface. It also came with an updated start menu, taskbar, and added visual effects. There were also new features in Windows Explorer. And then the driver rollback was introduced in XP, where if you updated the driver and that didn't work, you could roll back the driver. Some of the new networking features included Windows Firewall, internet connection sharing, support for most DSL modems, and support for Bluetooth, and the Windows Media Center was also introduced. The XP editions, there's the Home Edition, designed for home users, and then there was a Media Center Edition, designed for computers that would be used as media centers. And there was the Pro. You could buy them in the 32-bit or 64-bit. And in the Pro, the only difference between the Pro and the home versions were the Pro, there was the ability to be part of a Windows Server domain. And there were also access control schemes where you could set up files for different users to access. And there was also the remote desktop server feature, where you could log into another computer via local area network or internet to, say, troubleshoot a computer that was not functioning. And then there was also centralized administration features such as group policies and remote installation services. Now moving on to Windows 7. It's released in 2009. And the CPU requirement was a 1 gigahertz x86 64 processor with a minimum of 2 gigabytes of RAM and a 20 gigabyte hard disk space. In Windows 7, the standard applications like Windows Photo Gallery and Movie Maker were all moved and were part of Windows Live Essentials, and that could be downloaded as a separate package. And touch and handwriting recognition was also improved. And there was support for virtual hard disks too, as well, and improved performance on multi-core processors, and improved boot performance. New Windows Media Center was also added. And there were new items in the control panel, such as gadgets, recovery, display, color, calibration wizard, and clear type text tuner. And there were also changes to the taskbar. For example, I think they call it arrow peak, where you just hover your mouse over this button right here, and then so just do that. And then Windows Security was replaced by Windows Security Center, which is this new feature right here that you see in Windows 7. It's called the Action Center. And Windows 7 has 4 different editions: the Home Premium, and for home users, then the Professional version. Features that are in professional versions include the Windows Server domain the computer can be part of, and then it could also operate as a remote desktop server. And there's also an encrypting file system, and you could also go into Windows XP mode. And then there's also the Enterprise version, which has the BitLocker drive encryption and support for Unix applications, and diskless PCs, and also support for virtual machines. And the only difference is for the Ultimate, it's same as Enterprise, but it's available for consumers. And then the Mac Lion, which was released in 2011, requires a x86 64 CPU with a minimum of 2 gigabytes of RAM and OS X of 10.66 or later, and at least 7 gigabytes of hard drive space. And these are some of the features that have changed or are new. The address book now uses an iPad-like interface. There's improved FaceTime calling. And there's this AirDrop direct file sharing via Wi-Fi direct you wouldn't need an wireless access point. And there's also autosave, which is similar to what's on the mobile version of the iOS or Mac mobile operating system. And then there's file vault full disk encryption with XTS AES 128-bit data encryption. And there's also finer improvements, such as suggestions for whatever you're searching for, and then you could there's multiple search criteria without creating a smart folder. There's also support for Yahoo Messenger through the iChat application, and they added the Mac App Store, and then they improved on multi-touch gestures. Whenever you use like an input, they call it the magic mouse or magic keyboard or something like that. They improved on that. There's also an app called Preview for displaying images and PDF files. And then there's the recovery partition where you can restore to factory defaults. And the future of Windows and Mac OS. So Windows 8, the unofficial release date, October 2012. And that one will have new features.
Touch.
As
Is it going to have touch?
I'm not sure. I didn't really research it that much. Could not, I don't know. And then the Mac OS X Mountain Lion, which is going to be released in a couple of weeks in July. And pretty much concludes my presentation.